Shalom and welcome to this episode of Ask Aviel. My name is Aviel. You can ask me questions so that we can share, learn and grow together. There are 7 species that grow naturally in close proximity to one another in the land of Israel, providing essential nutrients to sustain life in the Holy Land. They consist of 2 grains and 5 fruits: wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. Each of them has a vital and sacred meaning. The 7 species have grown abundantly in the land of Israel for thousands of years, and they are mentioned all throughout the scriptures as special produce of the land of Israel. Deuteronomy 8:7-8 says, "For Adonai your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of wadis with water, of springs and fountains flowing out in the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, vines, figs and pomegranates, a land of olive oil and honey." Today, I am going to talk about the 4th of the 7 species, figs. A fig plant is a small tree or large shrub. Its large leaves have 3 to 5 deep lobes. Its fruit is shaped like a teardrop with a green skin that may ripen toward purple or brown colors. It has a sweet, soft, reddish flesh containing numerous crunchy seeds. The fig tree is the 3rd tree to be mentioned by name in the scriptures. Our first parents, Adam and Chava, used the leaves of the fig tree to sew garments for themselves after they ate the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In Genesis 3 verse 7, the eyes of both of them were opened and they realized that they were naked. They used the leaves of the fig tree to cover their shame and to hide from God, like a barrier between God and man. Luke 13 verses 6-9. Then Yeshua began telling this parable. A man had a fig tree he had planted in his vineyard, and he came looking for fruit on it and found none. So he said to the gardener, "Indeed, for 3 years I have come searching for fruit on this fig tree and found none. Remove it. Why does it use up the ground?" But answering, the gardener said to him, "Master, leave it alone for this year also, until I dig around it and apply fertilizer. And if it bears fruit, good, but if not, cut it down." The fig tree represents Israel. God came seeking fruit from Israel. Yeshua used this parable to illustrate some principles of God's judgment upon Israel. God was looking for fruit from his people. The fruit of Israel would show if they were really living in expectation of the Messiah. It would show in the fruit they had. Did they love Adonai their God with all their heart and with all their soul and with all their strength? "Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levaveka uvekol nafsheka uvekol me'odeka." The gardener in the parable illustrated the patience of God in judgment. He waited 3 years and gave the fig tree a second chance. He did not leave the fig tree alone. He gave it special care. He nourished the fig tree and prepared it for fruit bearing. God is also just in his judgment. That day will come, definitely as promised, and the fruit of the fig tree would be judged. Useless fig trees would be cut down and cast into the fire. In Mark 11, Yeshua was hungry. He saw a fig tree in leaf. He went to see if he would find any fruit on it. When he came up to it, he found nothing except leaves, because it wasn't the season for figs. He cursed it so that no one would eat fruit from it again. The very next morning, the fig tree was shriveled from the roots. What a strange story. Again, the fig tree represents Israel. Yeshua had high expectations of Israel. Yeshua expected fruit from the fig tree, even though it wasn't the season for figs. The tree was in leaf, showing that it was alive and producing the very thing that our first parents used to cover up their nakedness. Yeshua did not want Israel to have leaves that were used by Adam and Chava to cover shame and guilt. Yeshua was in search of fruit instead. He expected Israel to be ready in season and out of season, as stated in 2 Timothy 4 verse 2. The next day, when the fig tree shriveled up from the roots, the tree demonstrated externally what it actually was on the inside, totally dead. Perhaps Yeshua was trying to hint at something through the death of the fig tree. Perhaps he was demonstrating in plain sight a secret that was yet to be revealed, that Israel could not be resurrected apart from him. After death comes resurrection, and that resurrection would be through Yeshua. According to Colossians 1 verse 18, Yeshua had come to have first place in all things as the firstborn from the dead. Israel and the rest of the world will not be able to resurrect apart from Yeshua HaMashiach, Ben Elohim Chaim, Yeshua the Messiah, Son of the living God. It is Messiah who gives Israel life. It is Messiah who gives the nations life as we engraft ourselves into Israel and embrace the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Thank you for joining me. I pray that this message inspires and challenges you. God bless you and your family. Shalom.